Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We would like to extend a very warm welcome to each one of you at the NIICE Global Conclave from the labs of the beautiful Himalayas, where the Nepal Institute for International Cooperation and Engagement is located. The think tank was established in the month of February in the year 2016. It undertakes independent research in the field of international relations, foreign policy, security studies, and development. NIICE has 4 research centers: China Studies, Neighborhood Studies, Non-Traditional Security Studies, and Security and Strategic Studies. The institute focuses on 8 research topics: climate change and energy, global governance, sustainable development and smart cities, refugee and migration, China's Belt and Road Initiative, border and transboundary water politics, Indo-Pacific affairs, disaster management, and international economy and development. Previously, NIICE has had the opportunity to host distinguished speakers from all around the globe.
It was a great pleasure inviting me to speak here at NIICE.
It's a real pleasure to be able to speak with all of you.
But thank you anyway, and I certainly admire the work that you're doing.
I'm very happy to be with you all.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We would like to extend a very warm welcome to each one of you at the NIICE Global Conclave from the labs of the beautiful Himalayas, where the Nepal Institute for International Cooperation and Engagement is located. The think tank was established in the month of February in the year 2016. It undertakes independent research in the field of international relations, foreign policy, security studies, and development. NIICE has 4 research centers: China Studies, Neighborhood Studies, Non-Traditional Security Studies, and Security and Strategic Studies. The institute focuses on 8 research initiative, border as disaster previous were speakers from all around the globe.
It was a great pleasure inviting me to speak here at NIICE.
Thank you anyway, and I
To be with you all.
Good evening, ladies and you at the NIICE Global Conclave. It Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We would like to extend a very warm welcome to each one of you at the NIICE Global Conclave from the laps of the beautiful Himalayas, where the Nepal Institute for International Cooperation and Engagement is located. The think tank was established in the month of February in the year 2016. It undertakes independent research in the field of international relations, foreign policy, security studies, and development. NIICE has 4 research centers: China Studies, Neighborhood Studies, Non-Traditional Security Studies, and Security and Strategic Studies. The institute focuses on 8 research topics: climate change and energy, global governance, sustainable development and smart cities, refugee and migration, China's Belt and Road Initiative, border and transboundary water politics, Indo-Pacific affairs, disaster management, and international economy and development. Previously, NIICE has had the opportunity to host distinguished speakers from all around the globe.
It was a great pleasure inviting me to speak here at NIICE.
It's a real pleasure to be able to speak with all of you.
But thank you anyway, and I certainly admire the work that you're doing.
I'm very happy to be with you all.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We would like to extend a very warm welcome to each one of you at the NIICE Global Conclave from the laps of the beautiful Himalayas, where the Nepal Institute for International Cooperation and Engagement is located. The think tank was established in the month of February in the year 2016. It undertakes independent research in the field of international relations, foreign policy, security studies, and development. NIICE has 4 research centers: China Studies, Neighborhood Studies, Non-Traditional Security Studies, and Security and Strategic Studies. The institute focuses on 8 research topics: climate change and energy, global governance, sustainable development and smart cities, refugee and migration, China's Belt and Road Initiative, border and transboundary water politics, Indo-Pacific affairs, disaster management, and international economy and development. Previously, NIICE has had the opportunity to host distinguished speakers from all around the globe.
It was a great pleasure inviting me to speak here at NIICE.
It's a real pleasure to be able to speak with all of you.
But thank you anyway, and I certainly admire the work that you're doing.
I'm very happy to be with you all.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We would like to extend a very warm welcome to each one of you at the NIICE Global Conclave from the laps of the beautiful Himalayas, where the Nepal Institute for International Cooperation and Engagement is located. The think tank was established in the month of February in the year 2016. It undertakes independent research in the field of international relations, foreign policy, security studies, and development. NIICE has 4 research centers: China Studies, Neighborhood Studies, Non-Traditional Security Studies, and Security and Strategic Studies. The institute focuses on 8 research topics: climate change and energy, global governance, Sustainable Development and Smart Cities, Refugee and Migration, China's Belt and Road Initiative, Border and Transboundary Water Politics, Indo-Pacific Affairs, Disaster Management, and International Economy and Development. Previously, NIICE has had the opportunity to host distinguished speakers from all around the globe.
It was a great pleasure inviting me to speak here at NIICE.
It's a real pleasure to be able to speak with all of you.
But thank you anyway, and I certainly admire the work that you're doing.
I'm very happy to be with you all.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We would like to extend a very warm welcome to each one of you at the NIICE Global Conclave from the labs of the beautiful Himalayas, where the Nepal Institute for International Cooperation and Engagement is located. The think tank was established in the month of February in the year 2016. It undertakes independent research in the field of international relations, foreign policy, security studies, and development. NIICE has 4 research centers: China Studies, Neighborhood Studies, Non-Traditional Security Studies, and Security and Strategic Studies. The institute focuses on 8 research topics: climate change and energy, global governance, sustainable development and smart cities, refugee and migration, China's Belt and Road Initiative, border and transboundary water politics, Indo-Pacific Affairs, disaster management, and international economy and development. Previously, NIICE has had the opportunity to host distinguished speakers from all around the globe.
It was a great pleasure inviting me to speak here at NIICE.
It's a real pleasure to be able to speak with all of you.
But thank you anyway, and I certainly admire the work that you're doing.
I'm very happy to be with you all.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We would like to extend a very warm welcome to each one of you at the NIICE Global Conclave from the labs of the beautiful Himalayas, where the Nepal Institute for International Cooperation and Engagement is located. The think tank was established in the month of February in the year 2016. It undertakes independent research in the field of international relations, foreign policy, security studies, and development. NIICE has 4 research centers: China Studies, Neighborhood Studies, Non-Traditional Security Studies, and Security and Strategic Studies.
Good morning, everyone. I am Paki, and let's have a quick mic and camera testing. We'll see whom all are here and whom all are not, so that we'll be able to get to know that we can start the session now, or we wait for another 5-7 minutes. Right, so just give me a sec. I'm taking names. Am I audible here?
Yes, yes. Hello, good morning. This is Atul Thakur.
Okay, great. So, is Atul Thakur sir over here?
Yes, yes. Good morning.
Hello.
Hello, I can hear you. Just a moment.
Yes, sir. I can hear you. Yes.
Yeah.
And audible. Thank you so much, sir.
Yeah, we have few more speakers to join us. So let's wait for a while. We'll start at 8:45 IST.
All right, sir. All right. Till then, we'll just have mic and camera testing.
Yes.
Right?
Please.
And do we have Mr. Sushil with us?
Yes.
Mr. Sushil?
Yes, Sushil Bhatta sir is with us.
All right. So please unmute yourself and turn on your camera so that we can see you.
Yeah, I'm testing, and CEO sir will join shortly.
So you're not visible.
So turn on your camera, sir, please.
Okay. Sushil sir will join shortly,
Okay.
and testing the things.
All right. All right.
Yes, you're visible. Now, yes, Ambassador Professor Bishwambher.
Yes, he has joined.
Yes. Good morning, sir. Thank you for joining in.
Yeah, good morning. Good morning. Good morning.
Yes,
to
sir, you're
everyone.
perfectly audible and visible. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
And then we have Yumiko, sorry,
Yeah,
Yumiko.
Miss Yumiko Asakuma. Jai.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, ma'am. Good morning. Thank you for joining in. I'm so sorry for mispronouncing your name in the very start.
Thank you.
Yes. And then we have Mr. Ram Prasad. So
Yeah,
are you here?
He's joining us shortly.
All
He's
right.
joining.
Thank you so much, sir.
Manish
And then
will
we
be
have
not able to. No, Dr. Manish will be not able to join us. I've just received an email from him. There is some emergency in his
All
family.
right, sir. All
There's
right.
some health emergency there.
All right, sir. Thanks for letting me know.
Chandanji also not keeping well, but he's joining us in a few minutes.
All right. All right. So we'll start in another 3 minutes.
Yes. Yeah.
And the rest of the speakers may join us in between.
Right.
So Nimish, you can play the video on loop till then, because let's start on exact time.
Yes, here.
Thank you so much, Nimish. Now we shall be beginning, right? Because Ram Prasad sir is also over here. Sir, would you mind unmuting yourself and turning your webcam on? So please unmute yourself. You're perfectly visible. You're not audible to me, so please unmute yourself.
Hello.
Yes,
Yes,
good morning.
perfectly
Hello.
Good morning.
audible. Thank you
Good
so
morning.
much.
Yes, sir. You are visible
Good
as well as
morning,
audible.
sir. Thank you so much, sir, for joining in. And now we shall be beginning. So this is for all the speakers. If any of you need any assistance in displaying the presentation, please do let us know now so that we are already prepared till your chance arrives. So is anyone in need of our assistance while delivering the presentation? Anybody?
Sure.
Okay, so I do not see any. Yes.
Thank you.
So I do not see anyone right here. But if there are any sort of technical glitches that you witness, we're just a call away. You just need to, say Paki or Nimesh, and we'll be always there to assist you in this very aspect. And now this part is for the audience. Please do mention your questions in the chat box because we'll not be considering any questions in the voice format. Right. So all the questions need to go to the chat box, and the chair will be considering your questions during the end of this session. So this is all about it. And now let's have a really enthralling session. I directly hand over the session to Nimesh for the formal welcome address. Nimesh, please take the session forward.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We would like to extend a very warm welcome to each one of you at the NIICE Global Conclave from the labs of the beautiful Himalayas, where the Nepal Institute for International Cooperation and Engagement is located. The think tank was established in the month of February in the year 2016. It undertakes independent research in the field of international relations, foreign policy, security studies, and development. NIICE has 4 research centers: China Studies, Neighborhood Studies, Non-Traditional Security Studies, and Security and Strategic Studies. The institute focuses on 8 research topics: climate change and energy, global governance, sustainable development and smart cities, refugee and migration, China's Belt and Road Initiative, border and transboundary water politics, Indo-Pacific affairs, disaster management, and international economy and development. Previously, NIICE has had the opportunity to host distinguished speakers from all around the globe.
It was a great pleasure inviting me to speak here at NIICE.
It's a real pleasure to be able to speak with all of you.
But thank you anyway, and I certainly admire the work that you're doing.
I'm very happy to be with you all.
NIICE Global Conclave is the flagship event of Nepal Institute for International Cooperation and Engagement. The theme of the 3-day conference is Connecting Nepal to the World, with the aim to bring the leaders, diplomats, business leaders, and scholars from all around the globe. The objective of the conclave is to introduce Nepal to the world and at the same time update the Nepalese policymakers and experts about the fast-changing geopolitics, which will help Nepal reshape its foreign policy to achieve its national goals. This is the session O of the conference, and to chair and moderate this session, it's a real pleasure to have Mr. Atul K. Thakur here with us. Mr. Thakur is a visiting fellow at NIICE and New Delhi-based public policy professional, Deputy Secretary, State Development Council and Nodal Coordinator, India-Nepal Center, PHDCCI, and columnist with specialization in the interface of economics and politics. He has published several articles and books. Without any further ado, I request the chair to take over.
Thank you very much, Nimesh. I welcome all the participants and distinguished speakers of today's session. We will be discussing about foreign direct investment and foreign aid in Nepal, which is quite pertinent subject in today's time, especially in the post-pandemic time, the country is moving towards a different trajectory. I must say, uncharted trajectory. So, without much delay, I would like to first invite Mr. Sushil Bhatta, CEO, Investment Board of Nepal. Sir. Mr. Sushil Bhatta, CEO, Investment Board of Nepal. So, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Atulji.
Yes.
The chair of the session and other valued panelists, distinguished participants, ladies and gentlemen, a very good morning to you all. First of all, I would like to thank the organizer for inviting me to speak as a panel today session on NIICE Global Conclave on foreign aid and foreign direct investment in Nepal. And I'm also eager to listen to the views of other distinguished panelists on their understanding and perspective. Now allow me to put my thought and let me see how much I can cover on retrospect and prospect on foreign aid and FDI in Nepal and its contribution in nation building. Well, we all know the crucial role played by foreign aid and foreign direct investment in managing the resources that is required for meeting the development expenses. That's for socio-economic development and infrastructure development as well. Well, Nepal has been receiving foreign aid mainly in form of grant, loan, technical assistance, and humanitarian aid since the year 1950 through foreign governments, multilaterals, and NGOs, and collectively referred as, external development partners. Well, currently the multilateral agencies such as World Bank, Asian Development Bank, AIIB are as active partner in development and playing crucial role in leveraging our financing needs. Similarly, the bilateral support that we have been able to garner from development partners like USAID, JICA, NORAD, etc. has been availed to Nepal in various sectors, not limiting to just financial support only, but also technical and knowledge transfer. Well, private sector financing, foreign equity and loan has been channelized in important infrastructure, aviations and industrial establishments, amongst others, and some visible projects that we have recently seen, which are gearing towards the phase of implementation, like Upper Trishuli 1, a 216 megawatt, where we have seen a lot of multinational financing institutions are the lenders, like, for example, IFC, Korea Exim, KDB, Arabi Fund, and FMO. So in earlier years, the foreign grants and technical assistance were predominant, where foreign aid in the form of long-term concessional financing dominated in the later part of the development of infrastructure projects that was to be implemented or that was implemented from the public purse. As country graduated from the underdeveloped country to a developing country, during that phase is where we could see the role of foreign aid in form of long-term concessional financing. And now in near future, the concessional loan will be the significant part of a foreign aid, as Nepal would be graduating to middle income country. The need assessment, costing, and financing gap has already stipulated the dire need of additional financial resource that has to be garnered for achieving the targets of sustainable development. Well, with the vision of prosperous Nepal and happy Nepali, the government of Nepal has aimed to graduate to middle income country and achieve sustainable development goals by the year 2030. And to attain these targets, while I was also at National Planning Commission as a member taking care of portfolio of infrastructure development, we were involved in stipulating the cost. So talking about the cost of the plan period, that is 15th National Periodic Plan, and also the financing gap that was stipulated for managing resource that would be required to achieve targets of sustainable development. Well, it was worked out that around 55.6% of the total investments out of the total cost of plan period of 92 trillion was expected or is expected from the private sector. So I would say when we talk of private investment, it's including FDI. So given the overarching financing needs for infrastructure development in transport network connectivity, energy, industrial infrastructure, and tourism sector for accelerating economic growth, there is large investment opportunities for investors. In this context, in order to balance the fiscal obligations in meeting the capital expenditure, the private sector investment, including FDI, needs to play a vital role in complementing and leveraging the resource requirement for the infrastructure and industrial development of Nepal respectively. So realizing the importance of private sector investment, including foreign direct investment, the government of Nepal has established Investment Board Nepal back in 2011, which has a mandate of, as of now, to take care of projects, energy projects above 200 megawatt and other projects with the investment of 6 billion, that is equivalent to around 57 million US dollar. And recently, the mandate has been strengthened through enactment of Public-Private Partnership Investment Act 2019 and regulation that was promulgated in 2020. And further to this, government has reviewed various laws and made amendments to Foreign Investment and Technology Transfer Act, Special Economic Zones Act, and Industrial Enterprise Act, amongst others. Recent government policy announcement through fiscal budget to create a legal arrangement for viability gap funding of up to 30% of the project cost, commercial blending financing, and to operationalize commercial hedging mechanism shall be important milestone in mobilizing foreign direct investment in Nepal in coming days. An IBN is established to function as a private face of the government and is chaired by Right Honorable Prime Minister himself to expedite infrastructure development in Nepal. And as per PPPIA, that is the act through which the IBN is governed, is mandated to provide investment approval and not just limit to the investment approval, but take care of the project or the business at entry phase, that is until the projects come to a commercial operation, and then also take care of the investors during the operation phase until the transfer of those respective project takes place. So the total project life cycle and PPP project life cycles fundamentals, understanding the fundamentals of the life cycle is very important in terms of, when we have to facilitate our investors. And as a designated central fast track agency to facilitate economic development by creating an environmental friendly environment, mobilizing and managing large scale domestic and foreign investment, the Investment Board Nepal has been working tirelessly to attract FDI in Nepal. During the last 10 years, IBN approved a total of 31 projects worth estimated cost of around 10 billion US dollar, and more than half of which is foreign investment. And last week itself, the 47th board approved 2 more projects worth estimated cost of 0.8 billion US dollar. So that's an investment approval, but gradually, the projects, in order to be realized, there are a lot of milestones the project has to achieve. And so the Office of the Investment Board and its roles comes into the picture. And so the Office of the Investment Board tirelessly facilitates the respective investors. And OIBN is currently, facilitating the development of 2 mega hydroelectric projects. That is Arun 3 hydroelectric project, a 900 megawatt scheme, which has already achieved the overall progress of 45%. And the Upper Karnali hydroelectric project and 2 cement projects, namely Hongsi Shivam Cement, which is based in Nawalpur, and Wasin Cement, which is just 36 kilometers away from the economic capital, and all of which is foreign investment component. So apart from these projects, some other projects are in different stages of project development cycle and also its life cycle, and where OIBN is mobilizing foreign investment for its development. In line with this approach and government vision, OIBN has developed its first ever strategic plan with a business plan, so as it eases the Office of the Investment Board to execute the detailed action plan framework. And basically the 4 strategic pillar has been taken care of. So namely, project development and management, which has to be given utmost importance, and subsequently investment promotion and institutional development and coordination, collaboration, and partnership. So these are 4 pillars where in days ahead, with a blueprint, we have to move ahead and see that, we achieve and we graduate, we transform ourselves to be a real fast track agency. So institutional development and coordination and collaboration and partnership is to be also given equal importance. Talking about the first pillar, the project development and management is associated with development of credible, market-ready, and bankable projects. So, and subsequently, we have to strengthen a robust procurement system and effective and facilitation and monitoring as well. The second pillar is investment promotion, which is concerned with undertaking promotion initiatives and providing high quality services in phases of investment cycle. So a 3R approach, that is reach, retain, and regain approach, has been adopted for effective investment promotion. The third pillar, in order to streamline or to strengthen the service delivery or to manage the service production line effectively, the institution development has a greater significance in terms of service delivery. So institutional sustainability and enhancement of human resource competency to further develop the IBN as a center of excellence. So for instance, we are focusing on developing an effective implementation of digital systems as well. The web-based one-stop service is already developed at a preliminary scale, and we are doing its piloting and testing. So is the project bank management information system, a knowledge management portal, because when we deal with the investors in a project with a life cycle of, let's say, 35 years, we got to have an archive of all this chronology of events and decisions, because at a click, if the decision makers are availed with those information, it ensures quality decision making, and it also eases the decision maker to take decision promptly. So delivering speedy services to its foreign investors throughout the project and investment cycle using service automation, showcasing bankable projects in pipeline, strengthening institutional memory, and generating investment leads are important set of regular business for us. So, and this is how I guess I have tried to say in terms of, because I had to say this because OIBN is an apex executing body to take care of the investment of 200 megawatt of energy projects and 6 billion Nepalese rupees 6 billion projects above 6 billion and above.
Yes.
Yeah. So these are like key dimensions which will support in realizing IBN's set goals of the strategic plan that we have charted out for another 5 years, and for which we will be having soon a validation workshop with our relevant stakeholder agencies. And I hope I have covered much of my part in foreign aid, and I look forward to other distinguished panelists on the same. And also, I have spoken much more on foreign direct investment in Nepal and what initiative IBN has been undertaking as a fast-track agency for promoting private investment, including foreign direct investment and managing public-private partnership projects in Nepal. And now, not taking much time, I would like to congratulate the NIICE for hosting this global conclave. And I hope the outcome of this conclave will give impetus in advocating relevant policies and instruments for promoting private investment, including foreign direct investment in Nepal. And we will convert Nepal as a preferred destination of choice for investments. Thank you. And I would look forward to if any queries I have from the floor or from the moderator. Thank you, moderator,
Yes.
once again.
Thank you very much, sir, for your scintillating remarks. And you have really set a tone for this session. I must congratulate you for steering Investment Board of Nepal so remarkably. And IBN is not just a fast-track agency for investment and handholding, but I must say it is also ensuring ease of doing business in Nepal. So my compliments to you, sir. We will come back to you again with the questions. Thank you very much, sir. Before I will move towards foreign aid part, I would like to invite Mr. Prasad Subedi, Deputy Chief of Mission, Embassy of Nepal in India, to present a view, especially about India's investment in Nepal and the state of affairs with development partnership. Over to you, sir. Admin, can you unmute him, Mr. Ramprasad Subedi?
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair.
Yes.
I'd like to begin by saying namaste to you and distinguished panelists today. I heard Mr. Bhatta, the CEO, is speaking, and I look forward to hear from Professor Pyakuryal, Ms. Asakuma, Dr. Thapa, and hopefully Dr. Sakota later on. Before I begin, let me do the regular ritual to extend my utmost thanks to NIICE for hosting this global conclave and inviting me to speak at this session on foreign aid and foreign direct investment in Nepal. You see, these two topics are basically closely related, but I would be happy to separately deal these two topics. First, I will generally speak about the international economic scenario. Then I will move on to foreign direct investment and how its situation in Nepal. Then I will talk about Indian investment in Nepal particularly. Then I will conclude. Then I will move again to the foreign aid and of course, general trend of foreign aid in Nepal. Then I will figure out some of the facts, figures, how is the situation of foreign aid in Nepal. Then I will conclude. So on this note, let me briefly see how international economic environment is now in today's time. You see, soon after the Cold War, the political debate subsided and the economic engagement increased. We have seen the emergence of WTO. We have seen the major trading arrangements around the world. We have seen the amounts of world headlines that are fully covered by international media. It's about economic matter. And we can also see the engagement of global leaders. They talk about economics more than politics. And of course, the the much attention has been given to the economic matters. In today's time, economies have liberalized. The national economies have now gone global. And we have seen the trend of globalization. In today's time, even big economies, they have placed themselves in some points of supply chain. It's not that you produce everything you need. Rather, you produce a part of a big product, big projects. This is what I see. And for an economy like Nepal, as a landlocked country, as a country with a limited market potential, as a country that has to struggle to reach out to the world, we have seen some of the constraint particularly in promoting a foreign direct investment. You see, we have been always emphasizing that Nepal is attractive destination for foreign investment, but there are certain constraints we should not forget. So we have done a little bit of homework too to attract foreign direct investment. As our CEO already said, that separate fast-track agency has been created. We have done tremendously well in setting legal environment. We have allowed our market, liberalize our market. There are tax regimes we have done tremendously well, and market, the security of investment, the safety of investment is already there. And the government is supportive, in fact, and the private sector organization can work closely. Basically, overall, the policy-wise, legal framework-wise, I don't see any hurdles in foreign investment in Nepal. Those investors who can come and make investment can come with a motive of promoting their business. I have seen that every major country, every other country is fighting for foreign aid. Even United States say that we are the most profitable and safe destination for foreign aid. And for a country like Nepal also, trying to attract foreign aid. But sitting in between the billion population and holding the tremendous potential, if you see the result, that is not much impressive. We have not done tremendously well. It's so-so and very poor record, in fact. That's the thing. And if you see some of the potentials, again, every time we talk about, okay, now things have changed. We have moved 4.0 industrial revolution, 5.0 industrial revolution, the think tanks debate. We have been familiar with all this, but how far we been able to catch up this speed? We say we have, huge potential youth population. They have a, capability. Of course they hold a lot of prospect, but have we trained them? Have we given them the capability, the skill they need to compete in the international market? Those investors who come here in Nepal will definitely see whether they can hire them. They will not open training institute. There is a, on the part of labor also, I see some sort of limitation. Let me a bit of, if you see the pooling factor, of course we have force, but that needs training. We have resources that we should at least assess how much we have. We have simplified regulation, but we should question whether they are really simplified. And second, infrastructure, we are improving, but are they enough? And then again, changing, consumer pattern, of course, Nepali population is changing. Its purchasing capacity also improving as country is graduating soon. But have we been that capable? You see, we have a big market either side, whether we have the legal infrastructure, and other arrangements necessary to export the products that are produced in Nepal, either in China or in India. Have we thought that way? It's still, I have to admit that as a working diplomat, we still need a huge homework to attract foreign investment. Now you see the foreign direct investment, maybe please correct me if I'm wrong, just a 0.79% of GDP.
Yes, right.
In 2017.
Right, this is the right figure.
Yeah.
Yes.
So this means these all potential that we are saying time again: workforce, researches, regulation, rules, infrastructure, consumer pattern, and of course doing business, market either side of the border. These need to be really actualized. So far, it's not that much promising. Next, the sectors, of course, these sectors are very, very promising sector. Hydropower, transport, infrastructure, agriculture, ICT, tourism, health and education, manufacturing, financial institutions. These are really the potential sector for Nepal. You know, this sector, I think, once utilized, Nepal will no longer be a world country or developing country. It will be the far more developed country in South Asia itself. So these areas wait and in fact invite the international investor to come and make investment in Nepal. This is what we stand strong. Here in sector wise, in potential wise, we're very, very distinct. And I know you will not disagree with me on this. And if you see, we have done 2 investment summits in 2017, 2019. All were very much, these 2 summits were very much focused to attract the foreign investor. If you see the number of Indian investors, and they showed up and made plays in these 2 investment summits, it is not that much. It is far less than other neighbor, and it is far less than even the Bangladeshi, Sri Lankan, and other neighbors promised. So I also see the potential that is in India has not reached to Nepal. Even the investors, they have not reached to Nepal. So my job is, getting tougher. I will try. But there is huge potential. For me, India should consider itself as the first foreign country in Nepal. Try to come forward and make investment. Don't calculate the risk. If it is an Indian investor, it will be easier for them to export back to India. They can target Nepali population also. The market is there. And you have the similar test. Similar language will not be barrier. There are huge potential. I know the PhD chamber and particularly Nepal India Center.
Thank you,
and you yourself, Mr. Atul, you have been doing so much to do it, to facilitate it. And there has, been a kind of lack. You see, I don't want to recite the list of legal documents that we have: Foreign Investment Technology Transfer Act, Foreign Exchange Regulation. These legal arrangements are there, and they generally favor the foreign investor. Because we know our constraint, because we know that Nepal might not be that much, attractive destination for foreign investor, because they see profit. Because whatever the pull factors they see might not be that much in Nepal. Of course, potential is there, sectors are there. Therefore, we have, crafted the legal instrument to suit their requirement. But when we materialize it on the ground, there are some, difficulty. Let me talk about the often cited why Indian investment is that much it has not been that much in Nepal. The first thing is, there are, over 150 industrial joint ventures in manufacturing, banking, insurance, telecommunication, power, education, tourism. It's very, very, happening. In fact, Dabur India, BSNL, Hindustan Lever, State Bank of India, Punjab Bank, LIC India, Asian Paint, GMR, Concourse, they have already been there and have made investment and join hand with Nepali partners to actually do something. Recently, Surplus Hydro also reached there, and Himtal Hydropower also there. And it's not that pessimistic. The future holds a lot. And next thing I would like to say is Indian investment actually fall sharply down during the last decade, I would say, and during insurgency. And then the investments gradually is picking up, but the way we are looking forward to welcome Indian investor in Nepal, the number that we expect to see from India is not that much. So for all of us today in this session, for you, Mr. Chair, for myself, and for CEO to work together, actually to encourage Indian investor to go to come to Nepal and make investment. So the Indian ORF, they list some challenges faced by Indian investor in Nepal. The first concern is the safety of investment, then difficulty to transfer dividends, and lack of transparency, and growing corruption, administrative hassles. They list these 4 points as the big challenges. And you see the Manipal Group and Reliance Cement, they already stopped working in Nepal. And Nepal looks forward to welcome much more and more Indian investors in our country. Let me conclude, because as a working diplomat, I had a pleasure to serve in China as a deputy head of mission again, though I was counselor at that time, but in absence of any senior staff, I became a deputy head of mission there. And at that time, I remember it was year 2012, and a young promising entrepreneur from China come and met me, and he said that I'd like to go to Nepal and to establish a cheese factory to study. He was associated with the COFCO, the largest food company, now international food company, COFCO International. And he came to Nepal, visited around, met the leaders. I had given him a number of contacts. He also went to the cheese, Himalayan region, met with the villagers, and saw the potential. Maybe his assessment was there. And I wasn't aware whether he will again come and meet me or not. He came back to Beijing and said, I'd like to meet you through my secretary. I invited him in my office, and he said, Mr. Subedi, because I had said that I have this legal arrangement, this institutional arrangement, we have open system to welcome foreign investment. And he said, with utter frustration, said that Mr. Subedi, I am very sorry to say that I have dropped my idea to open the factory to manufacture axes in Nepal. So it was a bit of unpleasant for me. And why he said is, you have good rules, and you have everything good, as you said, but it appeared like a red carpet with hurdles in every steps. And I also felt that, okay, there is huge room for us as a government servants, or civil servant, to actually do a lot. than the usual narratives of always painting the bright side of the story. So together I look forward, in fact, not just to debate here, but also work together with three of us. And I hope Miss Asakuma,
Sure,
you will not also differ with me, because I have worked with the partners like you. Long time back in 2011, I would also see China division at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. I had worked with your predecessors. And this is the investment part of Nepal's environment. Let me talk a little bit about foreign aid. And this is very old. I know the budgetary assistance that we got right in 1951. We began the journey of receiving foreign aid. There was heydays. We thought that as a poor country we will develop very fast. And of course, we have seen generous support from the development partners and grants. If you ask me to list the top 5, donors in terms of grant, we have seen EU is the top donor, $50 million US, then the UK, then ADB, then China, then World Bank. These are grant. Loan part, ADB, top loan donors, and World Bank, then second, IMF, India, and China. These two neighbors are also lenders. They also give us a little bit of loan. Next, the technical assistance, United States, UK, UN, and Switzerland, Germany. These companies. Of course, these are just top 10. They do not represent all the list of donors. Foreign aid is a key factor, in fact, for Nepal, like LDC. It's a gesture of support. It's not just a money. I often see it's not money. It's the appreciation of development partner about Nepal's willingness to grow, striving to grow. Money comes, but they also open market. They also give concession to our international trade. There is chain effect. I have never seen just the face. I remember the JICA volunteers helping Nepali to actually check the pH, whether which crop suits in the which soil. I met a scientist volunteer who served actually as a very, very supportive technical man behind the big farming industry. The contribution, I have seen so many passionate volunteers, technical assistants helping Nepali. But again, if you see the figure, and this year we got 2,003 million US dollar as ODA 2019 last year, and it is some total of the budget ODA 69% as the loan, and budgetary support that goes to 36.9%, and then rest goes to project funding, humanitarian, and program or sector-wise. If you see 23% of national budget also covered by the foreign aid, total GDP of Nepal, if you see, the ODA represents 6.5%. So this is a significant figure. I must say it's a significant figure. And you see, again, I will come back to how we have been able to. Of course, in aid, you can't find perfect implementation. You can't find 100% place comes as money. Everywhere, this is the case. We should not hide the fact. This is fact. And always the question of effectiveness comes. It's a fact. And therefore, we talk about the country ownership, talk about alignments of domestic demand and donors' wishes, also harmonize and work for result and mutually accountable. We talked it in Rome 2003, in Paris 2005, in Accra 2008, in Busan 2011. The effectiveness part of the foreign aid has always been a debate, and for a country like Nepal, we often have a very hard choice to whether to integrate this aid in the budget system or not. There are NGO, INGO, third sector, informal sector, the generous wishes also. I have seen it even in the emergency. There was, in the aftermath of earthquake, I would receive some donation. They would say that this money I want to go to this village for the reconstruction. This money I want to give it for the reconstruction of this one, monument. Of course, they have a choice, and we have been trying to strike a good balance between the donors' demand and let me not be very lengthy speaker. Rather, I would like to conclude in a very summary way. Of course, 11 UN agencies, 7 multilateral agencies, 8 private philanthropic agencies, 17 or 18 bilateral donors, they are with us in odds, in events. They have been supporting us, even budgetary support. We deeply appreciate that. But the foreign aid is, I think, one pillar that only gives you a kind of encouragement. It is up to the receiving state to catch the momentum and move ahead. So we have not been able to catch the momentum. We are trying. We should not see the miraculous result. There are results on the ground, but that are not much impressive. Let me conclude this aid debate, I would say, because for aid, we should not see that these are all money that a country needs to grow up. I remember 3 authors. The first author is Graham Hancock. I hope you have read his book, Lords of Poverty. He says that aid is not help. And another author I remember is Jeffrey Sachs. Everybody knows him. And he writes in his book, The End of the Poverty, can the rich afford to help poor? It's again a debate. And third author I am impressed by is Bain Hawker. And he emphasizes that in his book, The Origin of Wealth, the foreign aid must create wealth in developing countries. And I again emphasize the foreign aid must help create wealth in the developing country. And that is where I should, conclude. And this is the momentum, that this is the hope that the country will catch up their development pace, and aid must create wealth in the developing country. And it has done tremendously good. With these words, I have, come to the conclusion, Dr. Atul, and there are so many, points that I have caught short, not shared, but still I look forward to speak. But this is simply a call to you and me, to Dr. Bhatta and Yumiko, to work together, in fact, in future,
right.
to make things better,
right.
to make the investment environment better, to bring more aid to Nepal.
Yes,
thank you very much.
Sir. Thank you very much, sir, for presenting your very important observations. I second to most of them, not only most of everything. I think all of them.
Thank you.
And also, I second the views presented by Mr. Sushil Bhatta, Sushil sir. Altogether, what I see that and what goes in favor of Nepal, that such remarkable, progressive, and forward-looking policymakers, you, Sushil sir, and many more, who I know all of them personally, So my perception is that Nepal is holding a lot of potential. It is true that it still falls short of the potential, but we have to read it, we have to see it like a glass half full, not half empty. There's tremendous scope ahead, and we'll come back to you, sir. We will also have another round of meeting on this, certainly with Sushil sir, you, and Miss Yumiko. So we will take it forward beyond the discussion as well. And we'll have another round of interaction with you. So we'll request you to please stay with us for a while. Thank you very much, sir. Yeah.
Thank you.
So
Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. So we have significantly covered the aspect of foreign direct investment in Nepal by two very distinguished speakers, and those who are the voices of the government. Now I will come to foreign aid side, and will invite Ms. Yumiko Asakuma, Chief Representative, Japan International Cooperation Agency, known as JICA, Nepal office. Ms. Yumiko, the floor is to you.
Yes, so thank you, Mr. Chairman, and may I, fellow speakers and distinguished participants. So very good morning, very good afternoon, or very good evening. Namaskar. So I'm Yumiko Asakuma, Chief Representative of JICA Nepal office from Kathmandu. First of all, it is my great pleasure to be here as one of the panelists today among prominent knowledgeable persons in international relationship and FDI. JICA, Japan International Cooperation Agency, is an implementing organization of Japanese Offshore Development Corporation. We have been here, we have been carrying out technical and financial cooperation in Nepal for more than 50 years, based on development assistance policy formulated by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Japan, as Mr. Subedi showed a part of it. So the topic of this session is foreign direct investment and foreign aid in Japan, in Nepal. So firstly, I will describe JICA's cooperation to Nepal, and secondly, express my opinion about relation between FDI and development cooperation. So firstly, let me show you JICA's cooperation to Nepal. So Japanese offshore development assistance started in Nepal in 1969. So JICA has been here since 1970. So more than 50 years. And in 1960s, Japan is developing country. It was developing country. So Japan Blue Train was constructed by the World Bank loan in 1964. So it means Japan was a recipient country, but around the same time, Japan started our cooperation to Nepal. So Japan is the first Asian country which became a developed country from a developing country. So I believe Japanese experiences as a developing country is one of our advantages of Japanese cooperation today. So there are 4 pillars of JICA's cooperation to Nepal. So number 1, reconstruction and disaster management. Number 2, economic and infrastructure development. Number 3, poverty alleviation and social development. And number 4, governance. So number 1, reconstruction and disaster management. Since 2015, we have been carrying out our cooperation in this sector. Our cooperation projects have been done in Build Back Better approach. Houses, schools, bridges, and hospitals were reconstructed by our cooperation. These are not just for recovery, but for disaster risk reduction against future disasters. All of them will not be damaged in the future by the same scale earthquake. And number 2, economic and infrastructure development. One of the good examples in Nepal is BP Highway Shinduri Road construction. It was one of the biggest and most successful grant assistance cooperation of Japan, not only in Nepal, but in the world. So I'm very proud of it. At present, more famous project by Japan is Nepal is Nagdunga Tunnel construction project. It is the first road tunnel at Nagdunga Pass. And then now construction work is ongoing. There are some Japanese engineers working at the site, but most engineers and workers are Nepali. It is a financial cooperation project, but we are also strongly expecting the technology sharing by the project will bring human resources development in Nepal. Number 3, poverty alleviation and social development. One good example was Tulpan University Teaching Hospital, supported by grant aid and technical cooperation. The hospital is now working for COVID-19 testing and treatment. For health sector, we have invited many doctors and health experts to Japan as training participants. We are very proud to see them working hard and efficient against COVID-19 pandemic. And number 4, governance. I will pick up legal sector cooperation as an example. Japanese legal system was formulated about 150 years ago by reference to some countries' legal system, Germany, France, and Britain, not copy from one country. Japan mixed our traditional values to our legal system as well. This experience referred to some countries and mixed traditional values is well fixed for Nepali new democratic context. I would like to express our cooperation is not pushing Japanese values to Nepal. We support Nepal to create new values with reference to Japanese knowledge and experience. By COVID-19 pandemic, both Nepal and Japan are facing economic and social difficulties. Both of us is currently making efforts to control diseases. And at the same time, we have to make efforts to recover our economy and society damaged by pandemic. After the pandemic, we will continue our cooperation, not only for health sector, but also for other sectors by Build Back Better approach. Now, I would like to express my opinion of relation between FDI and foreign aid. JICA dispatched Japanese FDI advisor to Nepal Investment Board, as Mr. Bhatta, CEO, knows well.
Yes.
It is direct cooperation for FDI promotion of Nepal by JICA. At the same time, other development cooperation projects are strongly related to promote FDI. As I said, there are 4 pillars of JICA's cooperation in Nepal, and all of them are related to promotion of FDI. Disaster is one of the risks for foreign investors. Risk reduction is expected by foreign investors. Infrastructure such as transportation, electricity, telecommunication, water supply, and storage is necessary for any investment. Poor infrastructures will keep foreign investors away. And rich human resources attract more foreign investors. Efficient health system is important when investors send their staff members to foreign countries, as the present pandemic shows. And good education and health system is essential for FDI promotion. In case of FDI, investors are always watching ESG, environment, social, and governance of the country. Good governance, such as stable legal system, is key elements of FDI. In conclusion, all 4 pillars of JICA's cooperation are expected to improve Nepal's investors' environment, even though it is not mentioned so much. We hope the government of Nepal, Nepal Investment Board, Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and other related ministries will continue to utilize JICA's cooperation efficiently and effectively for improvement of investors' environment through comprehensive multi-sectoral approach. We are always together with Nepal. FDI brings economic and social development to Nepal by investors, fund, knowledge, and technology. I hope JICA's cooperation will contribute further FDI to Nepal, as well as further friendship and partnership between Japan and Nepal. Thank you very much. Arigatou gozaimasu. Dhanyavad.
Thank you very much, ma'am, for your encouraging words, and we really appreciate the works being done under the aegis of JICA. Personally, I came to know about the works being done in Japa on irrigation projects, etc. Some of my friends are working on those projects. So, and also, I really appreciate your words about the cooperation in the post-pandemic times, where we have to brave a new world, which is very challenging. because in the entire world, including Japan, Nepal, India, and all the rest of the world, have faced unprecedented crisis. Nobody imagined that we will be seeing that is like this. So now we are entering into a time where the cooperation has to be given much more focus and priority than ever before. So JICA's place is ever more important. And we really hope that you will be continuing your work in Nepal and will be engaging with the stakeholders like IB and then Ministry of Foreign Affairs. We have the serving diplomat here, Mr. Subedi, who is a very senior diplomat. Sushil sir is an iconic person in the policy space. And also, I'm representing India-Nepal Center at PhD Chamber of Commerce and Industry. So we look forward for association, partnership, and collaboration. Thank you, ma'am. We'll come back to you again with a few questions possibly. Thanks. Now moving on to Ambassador Professor Bishwambher Pyakuryal, Nepal's former ambassador to Sri Lanka and Maldives, somebody who is very senior and is a repository of knowledge and insights. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Atul Thakurji. I would sincerely like to thank NIICE and other participating organizers for inviting me to participate in this Global Conclave 2021. Without elaborating much on several cross-cutting issues that we feel come along the FDI and foreign aid, I would briefly focus on the discussion points that were suggested to us a few days ago by the organizers. So this will save some time. The reason I'm not using my PowerPoint is also largely because of the time constraints. Otherwise, I had a lot of things to communicate to you, especially on the efficacy of foreign aid and its problems. Because a long time ago, at the request of the government of Nepal and UNDP itself, I led a team of experts to develop background paper for Nepal's foreign aid policy. So based on my work, the government, together with the other development partners, brought about the Nepal's foreign aid policy 2002. So to elaborate that, what we did, I have brought out a book called Is Foreign Aid Working in Nepal? If you get a chance, you can just Google and then find it out.
Source.
This is not my advertisement, but this was a
No,
long
not at all, not at all.
Published, but
it's an opportunity for us.
It gives lots of opportunities to you.
Yes,
and at the request of India's former foreign secretary, I also worked on partnership in development and Indian aid policy to Nepal. This precisely highlights on the kind of priorities set by Nepal government itself and the priorities looked by India itself. So we had a lot of discussion at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs in New Delhi. And then finally, Nepal's Indian ambassador launched that book, and it was translated in Nepali language as well to distribute to Nepalese community scattered all over in India.
Right.
So if you get chance, you can just go through
Certainly.
that book also.
Certainly.
These couple of, there are plenty of others, but to be pretty brief on the time that you have given to us, I will be precise. So to my
mind,
can
take up to 15 minutes, sir. You have time, sir.
Thanks.
12, 15 minutes. Yes.
Yeah. Aid and FDI, are complementary sources of foreign capital. Aid may also promote investment by improving the country's balance of payments, increasing its ability to finance the outflows of profits from the FDI projects. A panel data that I was going through, the research work conducted by globally known personalities. This panel data from 95 developing countries show sort of U-shaped, relationship between foreign aid and economic growth. Initially, aid negatively impacts growth, but over a period of time, it positively contributes economic growth. This is unlike what we talk a lot about, economic recovery, possibility of economic recovery due to COVID-19 in Nepal. Some talk about U shape, some talk about W shape, some talk about V shape, and some talk about even L shape. So I don't want to get involved into this semantics at this moment, but I strongly endorse the research findings of the research scholars, which is based on the panel data of 95 countries, that there is a strong and positive correlation between foreign aid and economic growth. Initially, it negatively impacts the growth, and over a period of time, it positively contributes to growth. So UNCTAD says, after this COVID event, global FDI collapsed, falling somewhere around 42% by January 2021. Although global economic recovery is expected by the end of this fiscal year 2021, FDI flows remain pretty shaky due to uncertainty over the over the evolution of COVID. Very recently, more than 80 countries have already been experiencing, Delta plus sort of variant. So it's not even known to the scientists how long it will stay. There are a lot of conditionalities given by the WHO itself. So let us hope for the best. Nepal would also follow the growth track at least by the beginning of 2022. I'm not hopeful much things will happen by the end of this fiscal year, and I'm not even hopeful for the V-shaped recovery. If somebody would like to come forward with the intellectual discourse on this particular issue, I'm open, I'm free. China has overtaken India now as the largest investor in Nepal in terms of both number of industries and investment amount. China's share, for instance, in total FDI is 46.83% as against India's 27.44%. Majority of the industries in Nepal's 7 states are small scale and medium scale and large scale. Small scale contributes almost 84%, followed by medium, which is 10%, and the large is hardly 6% industries. So the presence of such industries across the provinces and per capita FDI approved are skewed towards Bagmati province. Some revisiting of the federal structure of Nepal and their potentiality in respective 7 states needs to be reviewed, based on our existing policies. Some policy changes may also require. So NRB, the central bank, under the new regulation, we call it Foreign Direct Investment and Loan Management Regulation 2021. It's been hardly 2 weeks now. Nepal Central Bank, we call it Nepal Rashtra Bank, has brought out this regulation. This has facilitated the inflow of foreign investment without the investors' approval. The regulation guarantees sending or remitting foreign currencies to Nepal by any foreign investor after obtaining approval from the foreign investment sanctioning body. This is the body responsible to look into the minimum required conditionality. NRB simply requires a written note after the approval that we got it, just to make their archive pretty professional. This requirement has been done. So prior approval is needed only in taking foreign loan by the investors in Nepal. Policies should improve. This sort of policy should improve doing business in Nepal, since such regulation is supposed to work as a game changer. This is what you are also anxious to find out when you sent us a discussion bullets. Development assistance is increasing over the years, indicating growing dependence to foreign aid. This has led to expanding government expenditure and its sort of failure in increasing its own revenue. I do have a lot of statistical information lately collected by each of the Nepal's 7 states. What are their potentiality? What are in their annual budget, for instance, the budget that were presented a couple of days ago in different parts of the country. Even at Bagmati, the largest state, it is amazing to find out merely 40% of the total revenue is sufficient enough in their treasury. The rest 60% should come from the royalties and grant assistance by the center. So this is a pathetic situation at different level. Besides volume, proportion of foreign aid in GDP is also increasing. So out of the total $2 billion disbursed as foreign aid during the last fiscal year, 25.6% was for COVID-19 response and recovery. So for COVID support, largest portion this year was loan and TA grants. It was followed by the TA grants and then direct implementation. The share of grants, however, in total aid is falling in Nepal, both in commitment and disbursement, more rapidly after 2017-18. If you look at the chart, I do have actually the PowerPoint, so I thought, not much time will be available, so I didn't want to send that to you either.
Yeah,
it may have serious implications, in development for the countries where the domestic resource mobilization capacity is so limited. The money received from development partners accounts for 23.3% of Nepal's national budget. Foreign aid contributes almost 1/4 of the national budget. More than 2/3 of the budget is recurrent, and capital expenditure is just below 25%. This indicates the higher level of dependency that Nepal has in foreign aid, in grants. In 2019 and 20, more than 80% of foreign aid was multilateral in aid portfolio. The aid utilization capacity of Nepal, on the other hand, is historically poor, that all of us know. And in the recent years, it has been slightly improved since 2017-18 and 2018-19. Aid utilization, I mean. If you look at the table, actually, I do have a table where I have noted down top 5 countries like China, UK, United Nations country teams, UNCT, Japan, and EU. If you look at the trend on total money allocated in grants, total money allocated in loan, and total number of technical assistance with USD in millions, what we find in grants, India isn't among top 5 countries now. It used to be one of the top 5 countries even in the grants for decades. Under the loan component, for instance, India exceeds China. I'm talking about top 5 countries in loans and grants. India exceeds China. In TA, both China and India are not included among top 5 nations. These are the only 5 countries, UK, UNCT, Japan, EU, and so forth. They provide Nepal grant technical assistance. So this is the high time for Nepal to seek for technical assistance as well. I will briefly tell you after a few minutes what should be our mission and what kind of assistance, grant or say loan, should be used in what sectors of the economy. This will indicate if our effort has been for the game changer, foreign direct investment and foreign aid program. Do they really work as a game changer or not? This will decide. I will simply tell you the theoretical aspect of what has been happening in Nepal, and then we have to link that with the output that our policies are bringing out in our regime, development regime. ADB and IMF have equal amount of commitment and disbursement, whereas the commitment is higher than disbursement in case of USAID and DFID. This indicates multilateral institutions in Nepal for a fully long time have been pretty much successful in materializing their commitments compared to the bilateral assistance. With regards to the disbursement, bilateral agreement is not that certain. So while formulating our annual budget, for instance, or emphasizing on national pride projects, a couple of these realities based on the time series data needs a serious thinking, needs a serious thought. The local governments are not allowed to mobilize any kind of foreign aid on their own. As per the statute of 2015 Constitution of Nepal, the grants can be received by state governments with the consent from the federal government, central government. Ministry of Finance should immediately design the mechanism for foreign aid mobilization in the federal setup. This requires necessary changes even in the existing Development Cooperation Policy 2014. Currently, the effective policy on development cooperation was brought out in 2014. So in the short term, I think aid utilization must be highlighted and focused. In the medium term, policy enhancement should be made, and in the long term, efforts needed for the reduction of aid dependency. So the short term signifies aid utilization. The medium term should go for policy enhancement. So this needs frequent changes, unlike what the central bank recently did with regards to the regulation, foreign investment regulation. So similarly, the policy enhancement and reduction of aid dependency should be our long-term strategy. And then you can find out, looking at the trend, looking at the policy changes, looking at the constraints in even FITA, our Deputy Chief of Mission from New Delhi was saying Foreign Investment Technology Transfer Act, FITA. So there are a couple of problems. I was working as a World Bank senior advisor for Nepal project, and then we invited our development partners meeting in Kathmandu, and based on their key recommendations, why foreign direct investment doesn't really materialize as wished by the development partners. Even JICA was involved. Probably your predecessors. It's been almost 3.5 years. I'm almost out of the country, so I'm not very much aware about the change in the leadership, even in JICA. And then based on the recommendation, we submitted that program to the government of Nepal. I have to cross-check it if those recommendations given by the donor and development partners have been reflected in newly developed policies or not. So the increased utilization in loan assistance should be sought, in projects that have higher degree of recovery. Investment should be specially directed to infrastructure development. Very recently, World Bank has brought out its study, which tells us, like, Nepal sincerely needs to increase from 10 to 15% of the additional investment in her GDP each year for next 10 years. So look at the huge sort of investment gap in Nepal's infrastructure regime. So 10 to 15% additional amount of investment in Nepal's GDP beginning this year to 1 decade. So it's not a joke, So it's better that if we become hopeful, but it's equally important for us to be pretty serious about the revenue generation. When I was going through the annual budgets presented by different states, well, in collaboration with Society for Economic Journalists and my own association, we have a umbrella, national level umbrella institutions of professional economists, Nepal Economic Association. I'm currently the president of Nepal Economic Association as well. So my discussion with most of the finance ministers and in some cases chief ministers and municipalities chief, revealed that there is a huge problem, constraints. They have already identified those constraints. So because of unfortunate political uncertainties in this country, not much things have been materialized, although we know what are the problems at the moment, underlying problems. But let's hope for the best. When I was a student in the US for many years, and then my colleagues used to tell me there is always tomorrow. So let's hope for the best, because I'm optimistic. So grant aid is recommended in human resource sort of development, capacity enhancement, institution building, and technical backups to boost aid productivity. So these sort of discussions, I think, really demand a couple of key questions to be responded. In future, what we need to do, even the policymakers, practitioners, even the investors, so-called scholars, they need to respond to few important questions. The questions are: has foreign aid increased productivity and economic opportunities to the poor? Is there any development in implementing social investment policy to build human resource? How far aid has helped enhance institutional capability and reform the governance system? So once we respond to these questions, we will be in a safe position to say if the foreign assistance program in Nepal has been successful or needs some changes in the existing policy regime. With this, I would like to thank you all. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir, for a very remarkable presentation. I must applaud your pointing out on a few aspects, like you have talked about the preparedness that needs to be further scaled up. Then you have talked about channelizing foreign FDI and foreign aid for productive uses and for inclusive development. Another very important point. Third point, which I have noticed with interest, that somewhere you are pointing out that the country should not fall in the trap of indebtedness. We have the examples from the world. So very, very important observations. I will come back to you with at least one question to you. In the meantime, I have an announcement to make. Because of the health emergencies, our two speakers, Dr. Manish Thapa and Dr. Chandan Sapkota, could not join us for today's session. Now moving on to Mr. Sushil Bhatta. Sushil sir, I have a question for you. Talking about FDI and foreign aid in Nepal, do you think are they game changers in long run? And also, what should be done for finding an alternative development paradigm for the country?
Well, thank you, Atulji. Well, coming back to overall effectiveness of FDI in transformative and game changer project, I would like to just give details on some recent development, which is very important. As I told you earlier, there are under the aegis of IBN, the project, which are a game changer, is a 900 megawatt hydroelectric project with a proposition with export as well, and with the free energy that it would be giving to our power system. Second, we've become self-reliant on cement. And if you could see that under the project that falls under the IBM's prerogative or jurisdiction, some 10,500 tons per day capacity cement plant are already come into operation, and Nepal has become self-reliant on clinker as well. And the departure that it has taken is from general PPC cement to ordinary Portland cement, which will be in boosting up the backward linkage of any infrastructure development. So these are some real achievements that has taken place and which has enhanced the credibility of this institution.
No doubt.
So, and we got to realize this is apex institution, and we do take that responsibility and accountability of realizing all the projects which are in pipeline. Now coming back to, the projects, as earlier said by Deputy Mission, Head of Mission in India, is there are high hope that we have from potential market, both India and China as well. And with this also, with evidence, I want to say that a downstream project with the concept of basin optimization, a cascade project, 7 of the indicative capacity of 769 megawatt lower Arun hydroelectric project, the proponent, an Indian developer, has been selected, and vis-a-vis very soon the same developer would be given the study rights. And I am pretty confident in a shortest period of time, although it will take some reasonable time for achieving other milestones related to this project development, because any critical and big mega infrastructure project takes reasonable time for project to go under the phase of implementation. So it will have to cross the detailed study, and then they got to convince the lender, and by the time the financial closure takes place, or we chop the project development agreement, the things will be moving. So I see the realization of project, the probability of realization of project very high there also. Talking about Dabur, as I was telling you, if you could recall, the strategy that we have adopted is retain, reach out to new investors, and regain means there could be some dissatisfied investors also who had been deliberating hard to get into the business in Nepalese market. We are trying to create a database and on a war room concept, trying to reach out to them and see what their grievances were, if we could tackle that. And on Dabur, I was saying on retaining approach, with the retained earning, they have recently lodged their proposal to the investment board for upscaling their facility, for enhancing the capacity of the existing setup. So that is a clear evidence of the credibility that the institution, this market, and Nepal as a whole, and as an investment destination, that imagery that has been imparted in the mind frame of the existing investors as well. So on retain, I talk about Arun hydroelectric project and manufacturing, I have already said. And at the same time, there are other serious projects that are in pipeline, for which the developer has already submitted detailed feasibility study report. And that is namely for the multimodal logistic parks and private freight terminals, which is a basic prerequisite and infrastructure that is required for managing borders or logistics, and which will eventually put a positive impetus to reducing cost of goods movement or transportation. So these are areas where we have already achieved a remarkable thing. And on the other hand, we do realize that investment promotion effort has to be channelized through our diplomatic mission. And so we say investment promotion activity is an important pillar of economic diplomacy. So that's the reason I have been too eager to talk to this diaspora of think tanks, which will be giving us and genuine and pragmatic inputs for us as an Office of Investment Board to make trustful advocacy on, streamlining our processes, on, developing those frameworks and mechanisms that, removes the hitches of some investors in pertaining to, foreign currency, fluctuation risk mitigation, or that risk management tools and instruments. And even, some project may not be financially viable, but yet we would want to structure the project in PPP modality on that very retrospect. The philanthropic support would also be required. So, as very well said by JICA chief representative, see the tangible impact it has brought to some diverse sector ranging from health, education, Nagdunga tunnel. It's a breakthrough and a remarkable intervention in, ensuring smooth commutation of people to and fro to Kathmandu Valley. At the same time, in retrospect to talking about foreign direct investment, there are other attractive propositions that we have been receiving during COVID regime. So we got to realize, one is recovery, fine, but we got to rebound also with the time, and we got to realize what are those winning sectors. So I could see, if I have to tell right now, the green energy is no doubt a transformative project, and that is where we really hold an immense comparative advantage. The resource potentials are there, and at the same time, it will complement the modern industrialization, because there will be a lot of industries that would be requiring hefty amount of low cost energy.
Right.
So, and eventually the products those industries would be bringing out would be from the energy that has been backed up by renewable source, and that gives a competitive advantage to any product. So on that line, Central Electronics Limited of India, a public entity, a state-owned enterprise, has lodged an application for securing a survey rights for developing 350 megawatt of solar project. And the government, the energy mix envisioned by the government sees that, some 15% of the total energy will have to be contributed from solar sector. So we are moving in a very good direction.
Exactly.
And things are as totally agreed what Atulji you told. Nepal holds a lot of potential, and we together will work out and make it a promising investment destination.
Yes.
And with due consideration, we have moved ahead in a result-based framework, and that requires us to be credible. So these projects which I named got to be realized, and at the same time from China also, we have commitment and things are moving ahead for a 760 megawatt of storage hydroelectric project. And there were some bottlenecks. We are trying to resolve those bottlenecks with a solution-centric approach. At the same time, Damak Industrial Park, the project has been approved, and we have reached to the phase of negotiating with the developers so as to sign the project development agreement, and which we expect should take place very soon. So these are just few examples. But talking about foreign aid and on technical assistance, Investment Board has been getting a lot of support from FCDO, JICA as a representative now said, wonderful collaterals and brochures and investment promotion tools we have been developing with the support of and expertise support of our trusted development partners.
Yes.
So let's be positive.
Exactly.
Let's use our wisdom and expertise, and let's work in a collaborative approach, and let's have a think that it's doable. And we are
going to do
game
it.
changers. One is the project game changer, and we as in people who are here today, let's have a sort of psychological contract amongst ourselves and say we will make that change. So with this, I think not talking much, we'll have future different forums where we can talk issue based. So thank you once again, and thank you and my regards to all the panelists for their valuable in sharing valuable insights, perspective, and even inputs, and some evidences were also well produced by Dr. Pyakuryal. So with this, I would like to thank organizer once again.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
There's certainly tremendous synergy there. And of course, I can see the green suits as well coming under your leadership and also the ever leadership of other policymakers. And certainly, sir, point well noted that we will be putting our collaborative efforts to take Nepal to the next level. Thank you very much, sir. Now, my next question is directed to Mr. Prasad Subedi. Sir, you have talked a lot about indirectly with indirect reference to regional and sub-regional cooperation as well, while talking about Indian investment and investment in general to Nepal. Would like to know what are the pros and cons of Nepal's excessive reliance on FDI and foreign aid. I'm using the term excessive. Sir,
thank you very much, Mr. Chair. I would be happy to call you dear Atulji.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
It is all truly a pleasure to hear, in fact, the distinguished panelists today, and also see the commitment and the passion of CEO Mr. Bhatta. He has expressed his commitment, and as a diplomat sitting in India, I would always see that, would like to see India somewhere in the list, and often topping the list in terms of aid, in terms of investment. And it's always pleasing to hear that, of course, two major companies, they have been given the opportunity to work in Nepal, in Arun, and Dabur again, they are trying to take their lead in Nepal. I look forward to channelize more and more investment from India to Nepal. And my mission will be half taken care of by you as a partner. We will be working together to promote investment in Nepal, particularly from India. And let me talk about aid dependency in Nepal, as you asked. You see, as a country, as a Professor Pyakuryal has rightly said, that capacity building, you see the constraint, you see the capacity constraint, that always compels Nepal to look to the donors. It's a resource constraint, or it's a technical capacity constraint, or it's about the technology constraint. All compel us. We have a limited capacity. Therefore, this has been giving a kind of permanent context for Nepal to partner with friendly countries, aid agencies, and other multilateral partners, philanthropic organizations, and all. And again, we should not forget that FDI and aid, they have complementary things. Aid comes not just as a bulk of money, it also comes as a gesture to support Nepal in its one struggle to upgrade its economic situation. We have set milestones, long journey to go. It's even while graduating from LDC, our economic indicator is not very promising. We should know it. And given this context, we need development partner. We need foreign aid. We need technical assistance, just to enable us, to give us a kind of comfort and courage to fight better, to struggle better, and to achieve the reasonably good economic progress. I'm not saying miracle. And of course, if you see the number of, amount of money that is coming, it is from foreign aid. In investment, we have many things to do. We have a potential. Therefore, we have to do it. There is no alternative. But for aid, it is already there, and it is enabler to, to develop our capacity to welcome the foreign investors. So on that sense, we should take foreign aid.
Yes.
And the socioeconomic indicators, human development indicators, if you see that indicators, it's been possible hugely by the support of international development partners. So therefore, I always, put a kind of, good gesture, good sides to our development partners. I would stop at this point, and I'm very much looking forward, as CEO Mr. Bhatta said, that we should be working like a partner. I'm very much overwhelmed by the presence of Dipendra Puri sir, Ambassador Arjun Karki sir. I have seen them also watching us. So this is a kind of good session to unite our strength and to promote our potential to bring in more investment from abroad, and to join hands with the development partners, to retain the friendship, to build on the achievement that we have made for the future, because it's all politics will remain rhetoric. Only economics we can count in figures.
Yes.
That's the thing. And if we do something tangible, it is only because of economic thing.
Right.
It will be because of investment. It will be because of development cooperation. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, sir.
And I take this opportunity to thank your colleague, Dr. Pramod, and his team for making such an excellent arrangement to bring us together, at least to discuss and brainstorm on how we can do better to invite, to attract a foreign investment in Nepal, to better utilize the foreign aid. On this note, thank you very much. It was a pleasure having you and discussing.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. Now moving on to Ms. Yumiko Asakuma, I have a question for you, ma'am. In the post-pandemic times, how you are looking towards the changing scenario of FDI and foreign aid in Nepal? What is JICA's strategies?
Yes, thank you, Chairman. So I would like to describe my personal view for this question. So I think the pandemic maybe a little bit hesitate. Investors will a little bit hesitate to the foreign direct investment because of they understand the the risks of the foreign direct investments, and also I would like to say that the industrial structure is changing. For example, now we are using Zooms, but who imagined Zooms 2 years ago using this very good interaction? And also now it is very popular among Japanese is a Zoom party. So just yesterday we did that. We cannot see each other, but the face to face, but we use Zoom or drinking. So the industrial structure is changing, but in some industries at this moment it is very difficult. For example, transportation or tourism, but there's still new technology is coming, and new technology brings some new ideas or new opportunities to Nepal. So, and also now it's not easy for us to move from Japan to Nepal or Nepal to India. But after pandemic over, it's over, because of every pandemic in history, every pandemic has already every time over. So once it's over, so I think that FDI will not be changed, but the structure may be changed. But the FDI itself is important. So the history do not go back before. So we opened our country, and Nepal also will open a country. So I think that the pandemic affects some industries, and also pandemic will create some opportunities. So it has some changes happens, but still FDI will continue, I believe. And even I know, I heard from Japanese business person to Nepal. So even during the pandemic, the Japan Chamber of Commerce in Nepal, they get some questions from Japanese companies by Zoom about the foreign direct investment environment or something. So still, the investors' expectation will keep, I think. Yeah. So I believe that the JICA will continue our cooperation.
Right. Something very reassuring. Thank you very much, because I think the pulse for the development is intact, and this is this should, I think, enthuse everyone who cares and works for the development of Nepal. Thank you very much, ma'am. We are going to stay in touch. Thank you. My last question, I'm seeking some observations from Ambassador Pyakuryal. What suggestions you have for strategizing Nepal's economic development with FDI and foreign aid, especially in the post-pandemic times?
You know, the greatest
A few observations, yeah.
The greatest problem we face in Nepal is economic structural rigidities, you know, in our development regime. When I say structural rigidities, let me give you one example. You know, by the end of this fiscal year, we may have less than 2% growth. That's different part of the story. Last fiscal, we had negative growth, but that doesn't mean, like always, Nepal had a low growth trap. You know, Nepal exceeded even 5 to 7% growth in the past. Consecutively for 3 years, Nepal had attained pretty nice growth. But the problem is, to justify why I said we miserably face structural rigidities is, there is a growth, there is no response at all. And growth is inelastic to creating employment opportunity. You know, we get success in reducing the poverty, but poverty has nothing to do to reduce income inequality. There is a spike in the wage rate, for instance. High wage doesn't have to say anything to increase productivity. We bring out world-class monetary policy. You know, I'm not going to blame the central bank alone, because consecutively for 5 years, I headed the budget committee of Nepal Central Bank as its board member, and we brought out annual monetary policy. Then what happens? You bring out world-class monetary policy, but monetary policy miserably fails to contain inflation. So at a time when monetary policy fails to contain inflation, at a time, even in the period of reduction of the poverty, income inequality is increasing, at a time when we have a high growth, but growth doesn't create any employment opportunity. I do have some statistical information, if you like, in due course of time. For instance, last 10 years, the manufacturing sectors in this country created hardly 1.18% of employment generation. So this is pathetic, you know, compared to what even NRN is doing at the moment. You know, Nepal Economic Journalist Forum had brought out a report very recently. It gives you the exact figure and the employment generation. So what I'm saying is, to talk about the new development paradigm in Nepal, structural rigidities existing in the economy should be removed. And as much as possible, capital expenditure needs to be increased. For next at least 3 years, I think we should have some sort of rolling budget. And except of emphasizing too much on P1, P2 project, we all know if because of the political pressure, the finance ministry is compelled to increase the numbers of priority projects. This country has now still more than 240 P1 projects. So, at a time when there are a lot of rigidities in spending money, even when you complete the feasibility study, when you complete DPR, you really don't precisely know what model you will be following, like 750 megawatt West Cheti project. The model has not yet been decided. What model you follow? For 1200 megawatt of Buri Gandaki, for instance, only compensation has been done, made. For Upper Tamakoshi, when there is a time overrun, it was initially thought that it will cost hardly 46 billion Nepali rupees, but by the end of the third year, 3 years was extended. Now the total cost goes up to 79 billion Nepali rupees. So there is a time overrun, and there is automatically cost overrun. So my point is, you try to remove structural rigidities on the one hand, and try to use grant and loan assistance in the required sectors. Before I forget, let me also thank former Secretary and former Governor Dipendra Purush Dhakal, who is, I think, with us. He was one of the key consultants. Two of us prepared that foreign aid policy background paper, based on which Nepal government brought out that foreign aid policy in Nepal. So there are thousands of issues that we can handle. The political uncertainty won't stop us, giving some thoughts. But what happens with regards to capital expenditure, for instance, I told you, even in the process where DPR has already been completed and authorization have already been made, because of the differences of opinion between the secretary and the minister, there is no capital expenditure at all. So, who is gonna take the responsibility? So there are some, open secret in Nepalese economy that has been working as a barriers to development. So, when we talk a lot about new development paradigm, when we talk about the game changer, there are a couple of key elements that really needs serious treatment. We have two schools of thought. One goes deadly against the
your suggestions are like the writing
whatever the government does, you favor. Because you want to safeguard your chair.
Right.
So that's the tragedy in this.
Yes. You have rightly summed up the whole things, and I think while concluding this session, I'm satisfied a bit, because while challenges are there, Nepal is also promises a lot, and all the stakeholders of today's discussion have seconded this thought. So thank you very much, participants, distinguished participants, and all and the speakers. On behalf of NIICE, I'm offering my vote of thanks, and we look forward for the collaboration and dialogues. Thank you very much. Thank you. Because of time constraint, we have to end the session here. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, dear Atulji. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you all the speakers, and of course the chair for being a part of this particular session. It was so nice to listen to all of your presentations. And without taking much time, I directly hand over the stage to Nimesh for the formal vote of thanks. Nimesh, please. Distinguished Chair, speakers, ladies and gentlemen, as we have come to the end of this session, we would like to express our sincere gratitude and thanks to the Chair for agreeing to chair and moderate the session today. Our sincere thanks also goes to all the speakers for being a part of the event and delivering such comprehensive and convincing presentations. We would like to acknowledge our gratitude to our friends from the diplomatic community, experts, academia, media, and different organizations. Finally, we must also mention our deep sense of appreciation for the audience who participated in the webinar and those who are watching us live. Thank you for your valuable time and attention and for making this session productive with your questions. Once again, we are truly honored to have you all with us today. Please do join us in the next session. Thank you so much.